Okay, so I was going to buy a Sodastream because one day a couple weeks ago I didn't feel very well, and I had Audrey go pick me up some Seltzer water, which helped me feel better, and she bought a whole bunch of it, and we kind of got into it for a while. And I looked at the Sodastream online because maybe I thought it would be cheaper to make your own soda and seltzer water than to keep buying it at the store. And in my investigations I realized that it's just basically a carbon dioxide cylinder with a straw that you hook a bottle up to and pressurize the CO2 into water. And I looked at it a little further and saw that the little CO2 canister that comes with it is pretty small. It doesn't fill up a whole lot of 2-liter bottles, and when it runs out you got to buy a new one for $30. It is a proprietary cylinder, which means that you can only use their stuff for their machine. The threading won't fit for any other thing else. And you could take it to Bed Bath & Beyond or another big box store and have it refilled for $15, which is half as much money, but still $15. Instead, I decided to copy their little method on my own. And for what you can get less than the price of a Sodastream is this doodad right here. This is a 10-pound carbon dioxide tank, dual gauge regulator, high pressure hose, and a ball gauge, or a ball valve right here, snap-on ball valve, and this little doohickey, which is basically just a one-way pressure valve. So what you do here is you get your standard 2-liter plastic bottle. Used to be a Coke bottle or whatever other kind of soda you want. Fill it up with cold water. I say cold because cold water tends to absorb CO2 better than warm water. And all you have to do is connect your one-way pressure valve into your snap-in ball valve. Take it here, screw it on the top. It should screw right on. And before you tighten it, you squeeze all the air out of there. You want to leave just a little space so that there's air you can squeeze out. Then you tighten it the rest of the way, like so. Turn on your CO2 tank, and I've got my regulator set to 50 pounds of pressure, which is actually the maximum it'll go. Most beer regulators like this only hit 45 or 50 psi. I was thinking about getting a high pressure regulator, went up to 130 psi, but that's about the maximum pressure that these plastic soda bottles can hold anyway. And if you've ever made a CO2 ice or a dry ice bomb, you know that you don't want this thing blowing up, especially if it's this close to your face. Digging bits of plastic out of your brain isn't a good idea. Alright, so we got this turned on here. Got it all hooked up. All you do is turn on this one last valve here, and you can see this is just tap water. There's no CO2 in here. It's not carbonated in any way. You turn on the valve a little slowly. You can kind of hear that. There you go. As you can see, the gauge says 50 pounds pressure. Once it's filled with CO2, it's super hard. I can't squeeze it at all. It's got a lot of pressure inside. Now you got CO2, pure CO2 in this area right here. The surface of the water is slowly absorbing some of that CO2 due to the high pressure. But what we want to do is we want to shake it, which increases its surface area and allows it to absorb the carbon dioxide more readily. And I'll show you, when I turn it upside down, you can see the bubbles going into it slightly. But when I give it a shake, look how many more bubbles flow into it, because it absorbed all that CO2. So you can see it's slowly absorbing CO2. You can see the bubbles coming up. If I shake it, a bunch of bubbles come up. So basically what you want to do is you want to saturate this water with as much CO2 as it can hold, And basically the only thing that tells you how much CO2 it can hold is how much pressure you put into it and the temperature. So I'm just going to shake it up here. I can hear the air, the CO2 coming through the regulator when I do that. Alright, so you just shake it until the bubbles really don't come up anymore. That means it's approaching the maximum threshold of what it can absorb. So that's pretty close, I guess. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it right side up like that. Turn off the valves. I can open it up a little bit, crack it open. Just kind of slowly do that. Okay. Now, if you can see this, we got seltzer water. Let me get a glass so you can see it better. Plain old tap water. Instantly carbonated. And with this setup, it carbonates a lot stronger than what you can buy at the store. It's almost hard to drink. It burns if you hold it in your mouth for very long. But we make soda pops out of it, put flavoring and sugar in there, make your own homemade soda. I've carbonated 100% grape juice, which is pretty good. Did some cranberry juice, did some grapefruit juice. Made some root beer. You can recarbonate sodas once they're half gone and they go flat. You can just recarbonate it with this little thing. Lemonade. And Michaela, who's videoing this, is trying to tell me something. What are you saying, hon?
Lemonade.
Oh yeah, we carbonated lemonade. You can put just make carbonated water like this and put Mio water flavoring into it. Basically, carbonating anything makes it taste better. Haven't done milk or yogurt or anything strange like that. But I have carbonated fruit. Carbonated some cherries and
apples. Some
apple slices. And it just basically is the same principle. Put high pressure CO2 on it. Making me burp. And when you eat it, it's fizzy fruit. It's pretty yummy. So, anyway, instead of spending money on a dinky little Sodastream that you're going to spend tons more money on getting refills, you can buy a thing like this, a couple of attachments, and you got your homemade carbonation machine. By the way, it cost me $21 to fill this 10-pound tank up with CO2. It's not that the tank weighs 10 pounds, but the CO2 that it holds actually weighs 10 pounds. It's basically about 1,500 refills of 2-liter bottles that it's good for, versus maybe 10 or 20 of the Sodastream refills. So there you have it, homemade CO2. Bought all this stuff from Amazon, readily available.